Today I'm doing something I've never done before on the internet, and that is share my testimony and journey with Jesus. It is something I'm both equal parts nervous and excited to do, but nevertheless, grab yourself a cuppa and let's get into the video. Hey there friends, it's Carly. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new here, and welcome to another coffee and conversations video where today I'm going to be sharing with you my testimony. I am very excited to take you along the journey of how I became a Christian, I guess the struggles along the way, and where I'm at with my relationship with God at the moment. So the first thing I'd like to start by saying is that I didn't come from a Christian family. I am pretty much the only one in my family who is a practicing Christian or really even religious in any sort of way. So it's not like I grew up having these beliefs instilled in me. I think the thing that I remember as like the earliest kind of God memory, if you will, is my nan used to always sing this song to me, Jesus Loves Me. And at that point I didn't know like who Jesus or the Bible tells me, so I didn't know what the Bible was. I just knew that that was the song that nan sung and that some guy named Jesus did love me. And kind of nice fitting memory for that is the day that my nan passed. I prayed for her and I said to her that I will be singing Hunter, that song as well. And we took a moment and we sung it together, and it was just a beautiful and sad moment to kind of like have that memory with my nan and to send her off. But that's my earliest memory with God, and it's just, I guess it's a beautiful memory even still to this day. And then I think the time where I like sort of really started to conceptualize like what or who God was and like what he'd done for us was in primary school. I just went to a public primary school, but once a week or once a fortnight they did scripture classes where volunteers from the church or the community would come in and just teach us different things about the Bible, different Bible stories, different things about God. And that's when I fully started to kind of have a bit more of an understanding. But at that point I didn't really know like what it meant to have a relationship with God or to, you know, invite him into my heart and choose to become a Christian. I was just sort of having fun at school with my friends, learning about these Bible stories. I think I guess first turning point for me was when this girl named Jordan came to our school, and it was in year 5, and she was the first proper Christian person that I knew. And you know, she came from a Christian family, they all went to church. She started talking to us about Jesus and church. She talked to us about the Lord's Prayer and what it meant to invite Jesus into your life. And that's the first time that I fully thought, oh, I want to do that. But I'll be honest, I think at that point, I wanted to invite God into my heart more as like a social thing and a thing to like fit in. And Jordan was like, well, she still is, the super cool girl. She was a new girl to the school, absolutely gorgeous, super cool, and super different, the fact that she was a Christian as well. And like, that's the first Christian person I'd met. And I guess to some degree, I wanted to become a Christian to sort of emulate her and be like her. But it was the first time that I really understood about, you know, what it meant to invite him into my heart and life. And she started inviting us along to this little like Bible study Christian group that we had running at school during lunch times. And that was really cool. Even if like I had have gotten into it for the wrong reasons, if you will, it was still, I'm so glad that she spoke that word into my life at such a young age. And I feel like it did, you know, the fact I can remember it now, clearly it made a powerful impact on me in my journey becoming a Christian. But the like real intentional steps that I took towards it was definitely in high school, where obviously we're starting to meet a lot of new people from, you know, different primary schools around the area, and I was starting to be exposed to more people who did come from a Christian background. We had at that stage a Christian school in the area. We also had a Catholic school in the area, primary schools. So they came to our high school, and I was able to, I guess, make new friends that had that sort of upbringing and knowledge of God as well. And I made one friend named Anna, and she was heavily into church, as were all of her family. And she started inviting me and some of my other friends along to youth group. This was probably about year 9, so I was maybe turning 15. And at this stage, like the way that she described youth group, it just seemed like a heap of fun. But I didn't conceptualize that it was a church thing per se. It just, like the way she described it, it was a bunch of people, you know, teenagers. They get together on a Friday night for a couple of hours, they play games, there's music, there's, you know, it's fun times, they have bonfires and, you know, different events. It just sounded really cool. And like at that stage, I was definitely in an era where I wanted to fit in, I wanted to make new friends, I wanted to just go out and have fun and be like a kid and do like fun kid things. So I was down to do that. I don't remember what the first time that I went to youth group was. I think it might have been like a movie night or something, where they'd set up all lounges and bean bags and everything, and they were watching a movie. And I remember another one of the nights was like a big bonfire night. But at that stage, I was just going along to youth group to just have fun and hang out with my friends. I wasn't going along as like a church kind of related thing. And it took me sort of a while to kind of, you know, realize that, yeah, we're there to have fun and meet new people, but there's something going on with like all of these other people that are there. They seem like really like on fire and excited about life. They seem to have something about them that was just intriguing to me, and I wanted to know more about that. So at that stage, Anna invited us, well, me and some other friends, to church, and they had 2 different services. There was the Sunday morning service at 10 and then a night service at like 6 o'clock, and mostly like families and older people went to the morning service, and mostly sort of younger people went to the night service. So that's the one I first went to. And I actually think the first time that I went to church, I actually gave my life to the Lord. There was this preacher there who was a visiting preacher, and I even remember his name. It was Steve Morrison. Morrison or Morris? I think it was Morrison. I don't remember where he was from. Maybe it was like Sydney or something. But like she had been hyping up this guy coming to the church for ages. So like I was kind of really cool, like keen and excited for, you know, who is this guy? What's going to happen? And I remember like I don't remember what his sermon was about at all, but I do remember at the very end of the sermon, he did, you know, an offering to invite Jesus into your heart, and like everyone's eyes were closed, and you could like put up your hand if you wanted to, you know, accept that invitation, and he would pray a prayer kind of over everyone. And I was super nervous, but I knew that like I wanted to be a part of this, and there was something going on there that was like really exciting. And I think also at that stage in my life, not only was I like super impressionable as a teenager and I wanted to make friends, I wanted to fit in, and church just honestly seemed like such a beautiful place to do that, because, you know, it's such a community place and it's all about like relationships and friendships and things like that. But I was also struggling a lot with my mental health and my identity, and I think having a relationship with Jesus kind of, for me, provided like a lot of direction and answers in that realm, and like a lot of comfort and healing, I guess, that I was searching for. So I put up my hand, I prayed the Lord's Prayer, and I with intention and like full knowing at that point, because you know, previous points, I don't know how much I really like understood what it meant to invite Jesus into your heart. But in that moment, I understood and I committed to it. And afterwards, there was like a bit of an altar call, and you could go up the front and, you know, get specific prayers. And I did that. I was super nervous to do that because like I didn't know a lot of people in the church, and you're up the front and they're all singing and worshiping and people can see you, and it's just, I guess for a teenager it's kind of embarrassing, but I did it anyway. And Steve came over and he prayed for me, and he's like, what do you want like prayer for? And I said, the world. And he's like, what do you mean you want the world? And I'm like, I want to make an impact on the world somehow. And I don't know why that came into my mind, that like I said that at that moment, the world, I want to impact the world. I didn't know how I was going to do that. Like I was 15 or 16, like what does that even mean, have an impact on the world? How do you even do that? Like I didn't have these aspirations of being like some sort of charity worker or a Samaritan or whatever. The only thing I wanted to do was be a teacher, and I wasn't sure, like I knew I would be able to impact people through that, and potentially lots of people, because you know, you teach so many people, but I didn't know how, you know, through that realm I would be able to impact people on like a larger scale. And it kind of makes sense to me now, like when I think of, you know, doing YouTube and the fact that I've been doing it for like 6 years, and you know, growth has been slow, it's been, you know, discouraging at times, it's been hard to be motivated sometimes when my mental health's been bad, it's been like hard to get the energy or the enthusiasm to film videos. But I truly think that this avenue of like creativity and connection and relationships is sort of my answered prayer, because I am able to talk to people from everywhere. I've made like so many great friends from people all over the world and all over Australia just through being online, you know, through myself being online and through me engaging with other people online. And I truly do feel like that's kind of my answered prayer, that, you know, for me, YouTube is a way that I can impart some sort of joy and hope and positivity into people's lives. And hopefully by sharing my testimony today, I can do that as well and encourage some others who are maybe going through some of the things that I am or was at different stages. So here I am at this stage in the journey. I am getting involved in youth group on Friday night. I've started going to church. I've given my life to God. I'm with a pretty solid group of friends, majority of whom are Christian as well. So like, that's sort of the first like big kind of phase of my journey with God. But I would say that as a teenager, I was definitely like the seed that got dropped onto the ground and, you know, started growing, but the thorns sprang up and choked some of the plants, if you know that Bible story. I was gung-ho for Jesus. I wanted to like delve into a relationship with him, learn more, be involved in the church, all of these things. But I also felt like there were things in my life and things in the world that were definitely an impediment to me like being able to commit fully. Like I was really struggling with who I was. I was really struggling with my confidence, something that I still struggle to this day. And because of that, I would do like a lot of things to try and fit in, as you do as a teenager. So I'd be going to church on Sundays, but I'd also be going out to parties on Friday or Saturday nights, and sometimes drinking underage, sometimes kissing boys. It kind of never like escalated beyond that. Like I never tried cigarettes, I never tried drugs. Like I needed alcohol to have like even confidence to kiss a boy. But that's sort of like what I was sort of struggling with in those teenage years, wanting to fit in, but also wanting to be a Christian as well. And so that was my first like roadblock that I came up against. For me, the biggest shift came in my final year of high school, where I really wanted to excel in school and in my exams, so I stopped being involved in parties and drinking and hanging out with people that could sort of encourage that behavior, and threw myself into school and inadvertently also into church. So pretty much every Sunday I was going to church, Friday nights I was going to youth group, Tuesday afternoons I was going to Bible study. I had a really like solid group of church friends down. I was also involved in like being part of the youth leadership team. So a small team of us would kind of help run and coordinate the Friday night youth nights. We would also get together beforehand and do like a bit of prayer time as well. So between church and school, like those two things pretty much sort of dominated my life for a number of years. And I think like it's sort of the late teens and into early 20s is I have so many fond memories of that time, particularly around church. And I think the biggest reason for that is I had such a solid group of great friends. The church at that point was absolutely pumping for young people kind of in their early 20s, and there were some awesome people there. We would like not only hang out at church and stuff, but always hang out like after church or on a Saturday night or a Friday night after youth. We'd like go to the movies together. We'd have movie nights at each other's houses, have sleepovers, have bonfires, have dinner parties, like even just hang out in each other's like front yards. It was so much fun. It was one of the best times in my life. And so I feel like at that point I was super involved in the church, but also super on fire for God just in my own heart as well. We kind of had like another really big setback. The year I turned 21, like kind of the end of that year, I met someone and I got into my very first serious long-term relationship. And there's just like so many reasons why I regret that relationship and why it was bad for me. But one of the reasons why I regret it and it was bad for me was I lost so much of myself, and I gave up so much of myself and so many aspects of my life to kind of throw myself into that relationship. And one of those things that sort of suffered was my relationship with God and going to church. I pretty much stopped going to church and Bible study and youth group like virtually altogether. I would go like maybe every now and then just to keep myself connected, but I really lost that part of myself. He wasn't a Christian, and so like we weren't really encouraging each other in our faith. I think he maybe came to church like 1 or 2 times with me perhaps, but it wasn't something that he was interested in, so I wasn't going to push it. When that relationship inevitably ended, I tried to sort of get back into my habit of going to church, but that beautiful group of friends that I had, virtually all of them had like moved away to different parts of the country, and so there was sort of just like a different atmosphere there. Yeah, it was nice to be able to go and have that designated time and place to worship and hear the word and like have some sort of sense of community, but I feel like the energy and the friendship and the love that I had for like people at that place had sort of diminished, which really shouldn't have impacted my, you know, relationship with God or my decision to go to church, but for whatever reason it did. And then when a couple of years later I started dating Dave, I virtually like stopped going to church altogether because I had moved up the coast, and so any sort of like church community or friends that I had was gone. And so it was just sort of me trying to like struggle through my faith virtually on my own, which is really hard. I think like the next like most positive turning point that I had was actually during COVID times, because at that point like everything just started shifting into the online world, and so did online church, which was fantastic for me. I think the first sermon that I truly remember watching on YouTube was by Mike Todd from Elevation Church. Elevation? Transformation. I do watch Elevation. I watch Stephen Furtick from Elevation, from Transformation Church, and it was his series on relationship goals, which was like mind-blowing for me at that time. I truly recommend that series. And that sort of like created the spark in me of, oh, like, it's fantastic to go to a physical building to, you know, hear the word and connect with God and worship and do all that things. But I can now access much of that online. And that was so good because I started really getting into watching sermons online, whether it was like a full sermon or even just like a 15-minute like short snippet of a sermon. I would save them all to my watch later, and like every Sunday, or, you know, just if I feel like I needed to pick me up or a piece of the word, I would hop on and I would pick one of the videos from my watch later and watch the sermons. And that was truly transformative in terms of like reconnecting me with like my journey with God. And sort of like around the same time, I'm really getting into Amazon, buying books off Amazon. So I'm starting to buy more Christian books, and I'm getting into like, you know, Bible study books, or, you know, books that are like specifically about, you know, God, or books that might just be written by Christian authors and kind of have that lens sort of coming through. I also started inadvertently kind of following a lot of people online who were Christian, and that same deal, that lens, that voice, that kind of heart for God would sort of slip in and weave in through all of their videos. And that was truly beautiful, and it made me feel like, without having to physically attend a church, that I could still have some sort of sense of community, place, and ability to like worship. I can access like worship music, or I can listen to my sermons, and being able to get the word, whether it's by videos or books. I feel like it just made it super accessible to me again. And then because it was so accessible, I was able to do it whenever and wherever I wanted to, and it meant that I was able to like have it be more of a routine and practice in my life of, you know, praying and having my time with God. And then obviously with my journey to and from work, living up the coast, 45 minutes to get to work, I'd make it a little habit of a morning that each morning as I drive to work, I would pray. So I feel like just those little things really helped to reinvigorate my faith over the last couple of years. And well, not my faith, I've always had my faith, but my relationship with God and the strength and vitality of my faith, I suppose. And I'm kind of at a place now where like I'm still really hungry. I still want to learn more and deepen my relationship with God, whether it's, you know, via any of those avenues that I kind of mentioned. But I also feel like I'm really at a place where I'd like some Christian friends. Like, it's fantastic being able to connect with Christians online, whether it's via YouTube or Instagram, or like people who subscribe to my channel who I can tell have that sort of faith in their life as well. But I'd also like some real life Christian friends that I can kind of hang out with. We can talk about things, you know, from a godly perspective. We can pray for each other and encourage each other. And I guess that's sort of my new mission or goal in life, is to try and reconnect with some Christian friends IRL. I guess my challenge with that is like a couple-fold. One, like I get super anxious about going anywhere, doing anything, meeting people at the moment. So like that's a barrier to overcome. And also just like finding the time and place to do so with Hunter. But also I just feel like I'm at a place, you know, mid-30s, where I know the type of friend that I want. I've definitely had some bad experiences, particularly of late, with friendships, and I really want people, not only would I like to like find some new friends that have a heart for God, but I also would like them to like align in terms of like other lifestyle or value things as well. So it's really not just like we're friends because we both believe in Jesus and have a relationship with him, but like there's more to it. There can be more conversation and there can be like more connection, I guess. So that's my little challenge for myself, and that's sort of the evolution, I guess, of my journey with God. And I'm so happy that, like, even though I've had moments where I've really slipped away, dwindled in my faith, I've always come back like that prodigal child, if you will, and it has changed. And I guess part of me does like reminisce and maybe mourn for like those times where I was a bit more free of the worries of the world as a younger person, and I could just really invest in my relationship with God. But it's a journey, it's an evolution, and I'm at least very glad that I've been able to share it with you guys. So thank you for coming along with me on today's Coffee and Conversations journey and hearing my testimony. I hope that it was somehow interesting or encouraging to you guys. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I put out new ones every single week. With that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.